Hi, my name is Jade Kisnorbo and this is Uncommon.
Uncommon is a production by Neuralle, a full-service digital agency. If you want to grow with a premium agency and have the ability to work with Jordan directly, then learn more at neuralle.com/media and request a callback. That's neuralle.com/media.
My name's Jordan Michaelides and I'm the host of Uncommon, a show that asks the why on business, current affairs, media and sport. If you like this episode, do of course like and subscribe. This will help the YouTube algorithm work out whether you like this type of content. To find all previous guests, just head to neuralle.com/uncommon. For podcast audio, search Uncommon on all your good podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. For social, keep up to date with behind the scenes at uncommon_show. With all that being said, let's get into the episode. My guest this week is Jade Kisnorbo, hair and makeup stylist, Wellness Australia co-host with previous guest PJ as well on the Beauty Buzz, and of course Westfield Doncaster beauty ambassador as well. Jade, we've got the lighting right. The girls, they're stuck on their iPad or
iPad and sweets, and it's 11, but fill them up.
Yeah, we're recording now. It's the second lockdown in Victoria.
It is.
Do you know what I was saying before? I was trying to get some dirt on you from PJ, and I hit up Prue and Annabelle. Annabelle seems to be the one that has all the info.
She does. She knows more about me than I think some of my very close friends.
But you, I got to say, in comparison to, let's say, Lana and Nicole, they don't have much on you. Like, the only thing I had here was chocoholic.
Yes.
Perfectionist, but regularly breaks her phone.
Oh, yeah. I break a lot of things.
And blend.
Yeah. Yes, I break. Since a child, I've been known as clumsy. I'm a twin, and I'm known as the Clumsy Twin. And
Okay.
I've passed that on to my eldest daughter, who is also butterfingers. Everything, even when I'm doing someone's makeup, I drop brushes, I drop phones. I got the iPhone 11. My husband was like, came home, was like, "This is perfect, okay? You've got a new phone." Within 1 week, it was cracked. And I just think, what's the point in replacing it? Because I'll crack it again.
What do you normally do in that situation? Do you go to one of those, the classic places where you can get the screen fixed, or do you just go buy a new one because you smashed up that bad?
Yeah, I'm just one of those people. I walk into Apple. Apple Doncaster actually know me because every phone I have, they're like, "You've at least replaced it 3 to 4 times."
Yeah.
And the iPhone 11, I hope you know, I got it new. When I went into Apple, they're like, "We actually can't replace the glass yet because no one's broken it." That's how fast I broke
Really?
it. Yeah, and apparently it's about $600.
It doesn't surprise me with Apple. I mean, I'm a big Apple fanboy.
Yeah.
We just upgraded a lot of our stuff today. That's why I've been having tech issues before we started. And I got a feeling like you're the perfect candidate for the potential of Apple just having a renewal, like a subscription just for a phone, and they'll just you won't have your own phone, if that makes sense. Like, let's say the new iPhone 12, 13 comes out, you just go in and you change it at the store.
But you know what I should do, Jordan? Every time I buy a phone, they say, "Would you like Apple Care?" And I'm like, no, I don't need it.
Right?
And my husband looks at me and he's like, "You are the perfect candidate for this. Why don't you get it?" I'm like, "Oh, no. I'd rather just waste $600 at a time." So,
is that one of those things where because I know you've
being
got
a tight ass?
Yeah, well, so you've got a WOG background like myself,
Yeah.
right? So are you Italian or?
I'm actually worse. I'm Maltese.
You're Maltese, okay.
Half Maltese, half Irish.
Okay.
And I think it's that part, probably my Maltese side, where I'm
it's
like,
that immigrant mentality.
Yeah, don't waste it on that. But then you end up spending more.
Yeah, you end up spending more. You actually end up stressing more, I think. Like, I have this, like, my dad's getting to that age now where, he's that grandparent age. He's getting a bit slower.
Yeah.
and a little bit more adorable because things are just like, what? So
they're like gentler. They're way more gentle than when we were growing up. Are you Italian?
My family is Greek Cypriot, but
Greek Cypriot. Yes.
Cyprus is very heavily influenced by the Italian. So it was like, it was part of it was like a Venetian colony for like 700 years.
Yeah, I love Cyprus. I haven't been there, but I've got a lot of friends, both from the Greek side and Turkish side. So very different, but beautiful.
Very different. Now.
So you didn't get dirt on me.
No, I didn't get anything like nothing. The only thing I was thinking of, like, you'll find this really funny, when I was doing my initial research was, she's got the last name Kisnorbo. I wonder if she's related at all to Patrick. And then, like, lo and behold, it's like, yeah, she's fucking married to him.
Yeah.
So luckily I didn't say, like, is he your brother?
Oh, God, that'd be awkward, especially since he's a lot darker than me. The Mauritian.
Is he Mauritian? That's right.
He's Mauritian. Yeah. And he always says, every time with makeup, he's like, you know that you made it in makeup because of me. I'm like, why? Because of you. He's like, because I helped you at the start. I was like, so he takes credit for everything. And then he's like, it's our surname. I'm like, what?
Damn. That's a
big call, yeah.
All right. I'm thinking about, speaking of kids before, I'm curious to know what sort of your earliest memory from your childhood.
My earliest memory. Oh my God, that's a really good question. My earliest memory was grade prep, first day of school, and meeting my best friend, who literally is like a sister to me. We speak every day. She couldn't speak a word of English, and she's a twin as well. But it was such and she's from 2 sets of twins in her families. I'm surrounded by a lot of twins, being one myself. And it was the first day I met her. She couldn't speak a word of English, and she's my best friend now, 32 years later. That's probably, and I went in there with my twin sister. We always had each other. And I think in life, when you're a twin, it's just a different, all my first memories, they were with her, because you like this, even though my parents brought us up such different identities, it's a dual identity in a way. So,
well, are you identical or non-identical?
Not identical. We aren't.
Really?
So we're very different, actually.
How so?
And, Alana she was always like the one that was like the party girl. She'd have like fun. I was more like the responsible, do the right thing by mum and dad. She was the party girl. She's got brown eyes. I've got blue eyes. She was creative at school. I was more studious. We've swapped. We're just like chalk and cheese, but she literally is my best friend. And I think having a twin is such a different connection. You can't really explain it. And we had a moment, PJ used it on the radio, actually. She couldn't get over it. You know, the twin connection? Yeah. And she basically was like, Jade, have you ever had a connection with Alana? And I said, you know, when I lived overseas, my first job was in a sales role. I was on the phone, calling, and she was in surgery, and she was getting like just a day, operation, like, something quite minor, but she got put to sleep. And I'll never forget this, Jordan. I was like lying there, sitting there on the phone to someone, and I just lost complete, I can't describe, I lost complete feeling in my legs. I went like this into my chair, and everyone's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't feel my legs. They're like, calm down, she's having an anxiety attack. But I wasn't. And then I called my mum. I was in England. She was in Australia. Called her. I was like, how's Alana? Whatever. And I actually forgot. Look, I didn't even, I said, the weirdest thing happened to me. We worked it out. The time by the minute is when she went in theatre.
There must be something subconscious with that. Because like, if you think about it, like, twins is interesting because and depending if you're identical or not, you basically got very similar DNA.
Yeah.
But the fact that you guys are non-identical means that it was separate eggs. So it was an egg that hadn't split in two, and it means that the DNA is very different, or could be like a variation. But the fact that you guys were in the womb together, I reckon there's something about that.
And I also think, so, when you meet twins, you're like, oh, they're very intense. Most twins are very intense when you meet them. And they were saying, I was reading up something on that, saying that, like, so you were born with your mum and you had your first relationship was with your mother, most, humans. But with twins, from the second you obviously are there, you're having two relationships, one with the person next to you and with your mother. So it's so heightened. So twins are so intense because we have had more relationship from get-go than normal.
Yeah, and there's definitely something with that. Like I find that stuff that happens in the womb fascinating because I remember like reading recently that they're pretty sure now like your sexuality is defined by your mother's hormones in the womb. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's so there's still a lot of stuff that people just don't know, I think, about what happens in there. And that's why like a lot of people talk about the fact that twins will have like some strange bond. And I reckon it must be programmed at a deeper level.
Yeah, I do believe that. And then as well, don't forget my little sister. She's 8 years younger than us. She ended up being a psychologist, and it's probably because she had two older twins as her sisters.
What did you do to her?
I know. We probably gave her a bit of a hard time as when she was younger. But.
What was like family life growing up? What did your parents do for work?
So my mum was a stay-at-home mum. She was born to be a mother. Such an amazing human being, my best friend, and helps me with my job and everything I do. And she was a stay-at-home mum. My dad was in more the engineering industry. He worked very hard. I think they were brought up so differently. Like my dad was brought up from a European family that his parents obviously migrated from Malta, and then my mum was brought up like my grandmother was very she was a milliner, she was very posh, and then my grandfather was like he worked for CSIRO. They were like chalk and cheese put together. My mum is politically correct with everything, my dad is not.
But that's good though. It's good to grow up in an environment like that.
Yeah, and I was just brought up, my mum just never judged anyone. Like she doesn't judge people, and we all felt safe going to her. They were quite strict with education in terms of, I was the oldest and Alana, like I said, was more creative. So it was like, Jade, you need to get your degree. Like whatever happens, you need to get the degree. And I'm like, okay. So I went and did that and, went into health science, got my degree. And then Alana just kind of floated. She's one of them, she just falls on her feet. And she actually works for Nova.
Does she?
For in a BDM role in Sydney.
Okay.
And then, we had a really good childhood. I was someone that I look at my childhood and I really, like my husband says all the time, is like your face just lights up. Like I have the friends my best friends from when I was 4 years old. I moved overseas for a very long time and we kept our friendship. To me is really important. And I think with my parents, they worked hard. We always were close to our family. And I just had a really good childhood. Like I didn't get to travel a lot. Like I didn't go to Disneyland and all those things. But Christmas we were spoiled. Like my mum would bring out more and more presents. But through the year, it was like you didn't get lots of walk in a shop and get whatever you wanted. It was like for a reason you got your presents.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting. You mentioned before about like the fact that you've got to get your degree done. Like, and I wonder if that's like, is that a generational thing or is that just like, because I know my dad was always like, you're going to be an accountant or a lawyer or like, that classic, like you've got to be a profession.
Yes.
And I did that thing and I fucking hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Into that.
I just realized it wasn't sort of in line with my personality.
No. And I think I agree. And I think I did all that. And as well, I fell in love at 18 and was like, with this guy that's like, oh, I'm going overseas and, knew him for 6 weeks. And I came home to my European father and said, I met this Mauritian Italian guy and he plays soccer and I'm going to go overseas. And they were like, what? No. So I was like, okay, the degree, I'm going to get the degree. So that was our thing. I said to him, I need my degree. But I loved health science. Health was probably what I enjoyed. And I thought when I finish it, I'll do the post and I'll do physio. That was what my plan was.
Yeah.
And when I met him, and then I was going back and forth to England and Scotland and seeing this whole complete different world. Like I saw a completely different world. And I just was like, no, I'm more want to be pigeonholed. And the other thing is too, having two daughters now, and our generation, and when you have children, I'm sure you've already got in your head what you want and how you want to bring them up is, you know, being European, you've got this creative side of your brain that I always pushed aside. I was a really good drawer. My dad's a really good drawer. I always drew. It came easy to me, but I just kept pushing it. And I was lucky by before 25 that I found that I had this passion. But so many people I feel in their 30s are like, I hate what I'm doing. I'm going to do something else. And I will not do that to my children. I'm going to nurture that. And I can see it already. One's really a performer. And I think that's where our generation of parents, we're going to nurture that. And they're going to be even more successful because they're going to have that ahead of maybe our parents going, no, you are only successful if you get a degree.
Yeah. And I still think that hardworking mentality, that was one of the things I had with, like growing up, because my dad's a printer. It's still like little nostalgic things, like the smell of paper is like a real thing for me, like freshly printed warm paper.
Yeah, I love the smell of paper. I also love the smell of petrol, but that's not a good thing. Jesus. When I'm at the petrol station, I'm the best. It's like, I don't know why. And the smell of burning when you walk past.
I think that is a natural thing though. I think a lot of people will say that. I would agree with that statement. But yeah, it's one of those things, like I think it's just because they come from a background where they have nothing, like dad's family really, and I'm sure your family may have been in a similar situation where they really sort of had nothing. And so it's the obvious thing is like, oh, okay, profession, that's going to make you and you'll be happy. Because for them, happiness was that.
Well, your parents, see, my dad, even though he was like that, he was the first to be like, oh, amazing, good job, well done. Whereas my mum now is like that. But when I was younger, she was like, oh, where did you go wrong here? And I was like, so it's just all these things. We're such sensitive souls. And now that I'm a mother, I don't think it's a bad thing either, because my work ethic is like, once I start something, I'm going to finish that. Whereas I think a lot of people are just like, I'll start this, I'll start that, because my parents were like that. I want to finish it. And even with the kids, like ballet, you start ballet, you're finishing it.
Yeah, I think there was something when I was like 15 or 16 and my mum, she called me something. It was like, she's like, I'm going to call you Jordan Gunner Michaelides. And I'm like, what? She's like, I'm going to call you Gunner. I'm like, Gunner what? Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Yeah. And like and she's like, she had this whole tirade about me not sticking to something. And I think that really stuck with me. And then when we started doing this podcast and this agency now, that they couldn't see what the end goal was. And it's so funny how it sort of came back to bite them in that regard, because they're like, why are you doing this? Like, what's the end goal here? What's the point of it? And eventually there's something to show for it. But
sometimes you don't actually know the end goal. You just know that you're onto something. And this is the problem, that so many people, you overthink things. What's the end goal? Well, I don't know right now, but this feels so right and I'm running with it.
Yeah.
That's what I did with makeup.
Well, let's talk about makeup for a sec. You mentioned before, so you were doing health sciences. I know you moved to London.
Yeah.
And you were going to do postgrad in physio.
Got in, deferred.
That's in. You got in, deferred, and you sort of had. Now, I was looking at last night. This is where my research goes. I typed in Soho Makeup Academy. Like I was just looking at all these different and seeing like the reviews and the ratings and shit like that.
You're so good. I love that you did that.
Was it Saventa?
No.
Okay. What was it called?
What is Saventa?
Saventa just seems to be like the main makeup academy.
That must be a new one. This is a long time ago as well. It was a freelance academy and it was in Soho. It was actually small, Academy of Freelance, and it was
still
at
there.
The top. Yeah, it's still there because I went and visited it last year when I went back. It was like I had to stand out the front and I had a moment, and my family were looking at me like, she's going to cry. But I just had this moment of like, it changed things for me, and people believing in you who didn't really even know you. It changed things. I went from being to like a job that just like following someone around, you know, my husband, and watching him have this passion and success, and being like, oh, okay. to actually finding your own. And it was, it's been the best thing that happened to me.
So you tell me about that thought process of signing up to this 20 grand course. And like where was your head mentally? Were you like, I'm going to do this because I want to be me. I want to be different. I want to be what?
So I was in a bit of a lost stage, right? So I'd gone and I'd done it. And this is really bad. I'm going to say it, but I did some spray tans and I was like, God, what spray tan people? Like, I'm smarter than that. That's really bad to say, but that's actually what I thought in my head. I was like, I don't want, and all of a sudden when I got rid of that ego and I'm like, no, what do I love? I love when people would come over to my house and they'd feel just not that good and we were going out. I was always the one that was like, oh, here. And in 5 minutes, I'd be like, you look amazing. I just loved that feeling I gave people. And like having a sister who's a psychologist, I'm very mindful of having, it's not all about this. But I think from early on, I saw how it changed people, how they felt. And I was like, I think I could do this. And I just loved art and I put it all together and I did research. I'm a researcher. So like you did last night, I was doing that for months, finding where's the best one. I'm in the hub of fashion. I'm in the hub of beauty of London. Let's, and then I said to my husband, I think I'm going to do it. And he's one of them people, he's like, just do it. Just do it. Don't think about the end. Just do it. So I was like, all right. So I actually quit my job. I was working in recruitment in London, in England. No one knew the brand. I was just cold calling. It was soul destroying. Yeah. I worked all these extra hours, getting paid nothing. Quit, and I went and I did it. And I just had this moment when I was in there. And from day one, I was like, I've got to be here. This is the best. Because don't forget too, I know this sounds awful, but I wasn't just in a little makeup school. I was in this, like going, even our lunch breaks, I'd be going for like coffees, walking around, looking at big screens. It was just a different, and you're in 21, 22. So it's,
I can imagine though, where I've been in that job as well. When you're in that office space, it's sort of like being in the office, like the TV show. It's got that vibe.
Yes,
it's the downlights.
It's the best. But can I tell you something? One thing I'll give England, the best humor. Like once you get the humor, it was like The Office. They'd be yelling out things to me, and like Aussies, they would say actually Australian, how we are so bad with how we talk about things. It's like not politically correct. Yeah. They're like, how can you say that? And you don't think, you're 21, you're from Australia. You think, what's wrong with the way I'm speaking? And I really adapted fast to especially in recruitment, politically being correct and saying the right terms, because over here we say so badly.
Fuck shit.
Oh, fucking yeah. And they'd be like, you swear a lot, Jade.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And also like in England, there is like, there's definitely classism that exists, just that has existed for centuries over there.
And like education.
Actually, do you know what? I remember being in Soho when we were traveling my partner who I met at 18 as well, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
The one I'm getting married to, yeah.
I love those stories.
We were in London, in Soho, and I remember this distinctly because we were there for we were in England for about, what's the longest you could stay there? Like 3 months without a visa.
3 months without a visa.
So she's got family in like the Midlands, not Midlands,
that's
Yorkshire.
Where we were too. Oh, that's where I ended up. In Yorkshire.
Like they were in, because he played for Leeds United, right? So her family's in Leeds, but we're talking, they were in the community flats in Leeds. Like it was very rough. But we met them and we traveled all over the UK. And I just remember this moment, there was this South African guy and he's like, Antipodeans, bro. He was like, we've got to gang up together because the English all hate us. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, Africans and Australians and Kiwis. I'm like, okay. So everyone who plays rugby better than the British. Basically, is what he was saying.
If you get in a cab and they straight away, we bet you're in the cricket, I just feel like, I don't care. I actually don't care I'm not very good with sport, full stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, England shaped so much of who I am today. And you got to understand too, I don't really talk about it a lot. Actually, every podcast I've ever done, I've never really spoken in detail about England. But I will be honest, being exposed to the industry that I was exposed to, and I didn't realize how much it would help me now in the industry I am in.
Yeah, well, if you look at the UK, it's a fast and hard version of Australia. You know, the population's triple the size.
Yeah, it is. And as well, having been around sport, So you're going in, you don't know anyone, you're meeting someone, they look at you head to toe, they size you up, people size you up. What are you doing here? Oh, yeah, you're with this one. It was 21-year-old, like from the suburbs.
Yeah.
It was very, and I didn't care. Like, Jordan, I didn't care. I just was me. And Aussies, that's the nice thing. And English are attracted to that. They're like, these people don't really care. And then that helped me too when you go to do, I've been so lucky to do celebrities and do amazing people, that you're genuine. It's a genuine connection, because I was exposed to like things like that at a really young age. It never affected me, whereas I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by all that.
Yeah, and I could think as well in the UK, like, again, going back to that, there are certain cliques and niche groups of people that are just, you can only exist in those groups unless you were born into it in the UK. Yeah. And so, but then you come out over here and like life is a little bit more egalitarian. Like I think it's easier to do well in Australia than it is in say Europe or the US.
I 100% agree with you.
Like it's 100%. Actually easier to do well. Like in my opinion, just seeing how society is structured here, it's actually really easy to do well in Australia. You got Medicare, you got education, you got all this stuff that basically if you fall down on the wayside, you're pretty well supported.
100%.
So I can
in England, in the UK, one thing we couldn't get over is they would all get homeless people would get dogs, and we were always like, oh my gosh, I've never seen, because this is 18 years ago, 15 years ago. We're like, we never see that, and it was just like, other than that, it's such a broad, like in East London, like it's very different to here, and I think until you see that, and the earlier you see it in your life, the more you'll appreciate and maybe not whinge about your own country. And seeing it, I know we travel and people go to Mexico and they're on these amazing, but do you really see how once you live in a country and you are part of the system, you then see how Australia is a really good country. Yeah. Even though right now Melbourne is...
now we're in lockdown. Well, that is a brilliant segue, because like the next note at the top of my page is COVID. So we may as well touch on it. Mm-hmm. You were meant to be here and you're not, because we're all in lockdown locally here at least. And I think, Melbourne, of course, is just a bit trend forward in comparison to Sydney. So we were really there 2-3 weeks before where they're going to be, which will be locked down as well. Yeah. I found it fascinating that the last event you did in hindsight, I don't know if it went ahead, but was the beauty bar at Formula One.
Grand Prix, yeah.
That's right.
That's a really sore spot in my heart right here.
Yes. So what's the last few months been like for you in an industry where you're really reliant on being in front of people?
Yeah, so one thing I did is I have a few business mentors, and about 4 years ago I sat down with someone and they said, Jade, have different streams, 100%. I mean, I know that's a no-brainer and everyone goes, yeah, I know that. But when you're a makeup artist, how many streams are you going to have? Well, you're like, well, I'm a makeup artist. So I kind of, through, speaking with different mentors, I set up this, different streams, and it was like, yeah, great. Makeup on someone's face is now a stream of what I do. It's not everything. So I was very lucky because I have different elements to my job. It's affected me. There's no doubt about it, because events in Melbourne is probably what keeps our content going 24/7. You've got the Logies, Brownlow, so that's a red carpet side. Then you've got an event on every week. So, someone might be flying down from Sydney. I've got great loyal Sydney clients where they're like, Jade, I'm coming. Crown is a great client of mine. So, we're doing this. It's blocked out a big amount, but there's a part of me where I do have a bit of my head in the clouds and I'm just positive. I've got that part of my mum where I'm like, this has happened, move on. So for probably a week, me and Lana Wilkinson and I would call each other and be like, oh God, what's that? Oh God. Like we'd call each other and we'd be like, she'd be like, oh, and then it was really good. She's like, I always explain her as the girl that sits next to me in the office. Okay. So because we don't have that, we call each other and we'll have those moments, help. But I'm okay because I've got it's made me think differently. So, okay, the beauty bar for me was amazing. I've done it the last 2 or 3 years. I've been with Grand Prix for the last 6 years. It was a really amazing. I had Still in New York sponsor me, so I met them at Mechaland. I reached out to them. They were like, "This ties in greatly." They were launching a range that was specified to like racing. It was so crazy.
Really?
So yeah, so they sent all this stock over. So from New York, like I was so honoured to have that. And then Mermaid Hair, who I've helped, got it on today. They sponsored me as well. So these brands that were doing the right thing, and I was helping them, all of a sudden, bang. And I felt really disappointed. I had staff there, so they were all excited. Such an amazing event. And I was pretty shocked, and we were in a lot of denial, all of us, because Wednesday happened. That was the Glamour on the Grid, and there was something so eerie. It came out that night that someone, I think a trainer or someone had it.
And a staff member of McLaren.
Staff member.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the whole, like, I don't know if you've been in there, you know, where the Glamour, it's in there. All of a sudden, it just went.
Mood change.
Everyone left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and Joey Scandizo, he was doing the hair, and we were like, oh, everyone's left really early tonight. So then it started to hit your head. And then Thursday we were there, and it was a quiet day. And then in the morning, I've got all my, I've got a lot of staff that come to the event. They're all texting me, I don't know if I feel comfortable. I'm like, it's okay. And in my head, I'm actually saying, if you don't come, it shows me that little did I know there's a pandemic. Hello. This is like, and the worst is yet to come. And then finally I got a call. I did the ambassador, which is Jessie Murphy and, Mark Murphy's wife, finished her. And she's going, well, it's going ahead. And I'm thinking, yeah. And I started to get the anxiety was starting to build, because also I'm responsible for these people that we're touching people's faces, and one's in the general public and one's in where all the trainers and everyone's coming. So I'm thinking this could be a disaster. Well, it is going to be a disaster. And then all of a sudden Grand Prix called and they were like, cancel.
It's off. Yeah.
And a part of me, I really got upset, because I was sad for them too, like how it's such an iconic Melbourne event. It was just and being part of it and being ready to go in, we felt it. And I was very strict after that. So no one came to my house. I didn't go anywhere. And everyone was kind of a bit more like, Jade, you're taking this so serious. But because I was part of that situation, I saw how serious it was. And then
well, you were probably at an area where, so like there's the people that are on the ground, so you got to think about like the politicians, the medical staff and all that are really on the forefront, let's call it the battlefield. And then there are people who are in rippling areas, and then there are people who are just watching it on TV like it's a reality TV show.
Yes.
And you could sort of see like those people who are just watching on TV be like, it's all right. But, if I spoke to anyone who is in events, who is in fellow agency owners, I think that Friday was like the Friday that it really, like to me, when it really hit was when the NBA was cancelled. I was like,
yes,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then the week after, the Grand Prix was cancelled. And I couldn't believe that. I think when the NBA was on, I messaged Gemma Watts, who was at the event. I'm like, she had stuff on for Vamp. That's it.
I was running between DJ's fashion. We were running from David Jones to Vamp to the Grand Prix, and I was like, why would Melbourne have all these events on? I can safely tell you that's why, because we had them all in 1 week, because we weren't going to have them ever again for the rest of the year.
Well, Gemma flew during that week, and I was like, Gemma, are you all right? Like, what's going on? And she's like, it's fine. It'll be fine. And then I think she really realized after that Glamour on the Grid event, I think it might have been the Thursday or Friday. She might have had some event on the weekend that was at, would have been one of those influencer events. It was at the Botanic Gardens, I think, for some skincare brand. I can't remember. It's like,
I think it wasn't the Mercedes-Benz lunch.
No,
that was a really odd feeling as well. So the Mercedes-Benz lunch, we went there, everyone's dressed. Like it's always every year, if you get invited to that, it's such an amazing lunch. And I was so excited to go, and I so glamorously had to walk from my beauty bar all the way around, Albert Park Lake, and I was heels going in and out of the grass. Finally got there, and it was just not, the best feeling. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was just this, we could feel something was coming, and it was sad, and Yeah, I think it's definitely affected all of us. And in events, I'm not going to say it hasn't. It has. It's just we've had to think differently. The second time has probably hit me a little harder. I don't know if you're the same. I think, God, to go through this again. Also, my husband's in Sydney for the hubs over there for the A-League. So I'm doing it by myself. And, you know, I feel my attention sometimes isn't right on because you just spread a bit thin.
So if you think about your day at the moment, for you personally, it's very, very hard. You've got to get the girls up, make sure they're ready for the day. Are they back at school now?
Monday. So Monday. So I'm saying it's not happening until Monday because homeschooling, and for me, education, it's the one thing you can give your child. So especially Milana's grade 1, Valentina's grade prep next year. But grade 1, it's like, we've been doing reading with it, but sometimes you look and you're like, how do you not get this?
And it's so hard. It's so hard when they're that age because and it just makes you realize like what the job of the teacher is.
And also my psychologist sister's in my head going, this is the time that the child forms the relationship between learning and you don't want to. And I'm going,
shit.
It's so hard because then she's going to hate. She's going to, and a thing that another person in the industry said to me, she said to her daughter, like, oh, homeschooling, and her daughter goes, oh, homeschooling. And we were saying you don't want them to have that. You want them to be like homeschooling because you do need them to enjoy it. Imagine how they're feeling. Like they're on TV like, what is this? They're going for walks. I'm forcing them to go for walks. Mummy needs exercise. Like it's not fair really on their poor little brains and hearts. So I try to make it fun. We do a lot of the creative art. Okay, art time.
Have you noticed, like, I mean, you would have noticed this over time, but particularly during this lockdown, or these lockdowns, have you noticed like the personality traits that are starting to appear in your kids that you exhibit as well?
Yes.
Like what?
Yes. So she's got
she's
Milana is like a mini adult. If anyone meets her, so they're on my Instagram a lot, and everyone's like, they are the funniest. Like they're pretty funny, not just because they're my kids, but they are pretty funny. So Valentina looks straight off the boat from Italy. Milana looks like she's Moana. Actually, at Kinder, people used to call her that. And they're both like mini little adults. And I see with Milana, she's very creative. She's a performer. Valentina is just like effortlessly smart. Mm-hmm. But with Milana, here I am saying to you, we've got to nurture this, But I find my parents coming into me where I'm like I've said the word 3 times, 4 times. I was saying 5 times. I'm like, how could you not get it? And then I can hear my husband back then was like, Jade. So you really, I don't want to be a teacher. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm happy. I don't want to be a teacher. So when you're taking that on, you're not educated to do so. So it's just doing your best job. It might not be perfect, but do your best job. And I think just she did go up 5 levels in reading though, so I must have done something right.
Yeah, it's very, very hard at the moment. Being a parent right now would be super, super tough because you just got, I mean, particularly in your scenario, you've got a lot of shit going on basically. Yeah. Like what can you do in terms of work at the moment?
So I'm doing a lot of videos. I'm doing a lot of I was doing a lot of shoots. Now it's more I'm doing a bit with my face, which is sometimes hard too because you're getting in front of the camera. You're used to being behind it. But what I'm finding is a lot of people, they want education on because they've got time now at home. How do I do this? How do I look after my skin? There's so many products out there. They're spending online, and it's our industry, beauty industry. And I think that's where you would have seen with Gemma. She's really nailed like the skincare and saying she trials it for a month and she's got a system going. And I think that's what I like about Gemma, and I support with her. She's not an artist, but she's someone that through her experience and she's so clever and witty and I love her. She gives that advice. Do you know what I mean? And I love that. And then there's someone that sometimes people come to me from maybe an expert and go, hey, you do this every day on people, not on your skin, but you understand maybe a dry person's skin, oily, and give me that information. I think sometimes that's maybe what missing because there's just so much information out there. There's,
Yeah.
you know, and you look and you go, I want to look like that, but I don't have that face.
Yeah,
So-
that's like a classic thing, right? Like I remember my barber saying that to me. She was like, you know, someone will have a photo of a haircut and they'll bring it in and it's like, but your hair's nothing like that. You know, like they might have a ducktail shape at the back of their head, but the person they brought in is like, it just goes down straight or whatever.
Hair, like as soon as I get a bride and they're like, so I'm going to get my hair done and it's going to have this voluminous wave. I'm like, yeah, babe, you need to go and invest in some extensions. They're like, no. Yeah. It's like that whole picture is hair extensions. So it's just, you assume that people know this, but they don't. And it's and I think even now we're really mindful about what we're putting on our face. You know, I don't know if your partner's the same, but, you know, as we get older, what are we actually putting on our face? Sustainability. What is this packaging? What is this? It's a whole... and I think Rachel Finch for me was the first client I did 7 years ago. She's the most loyal client. She's a very close friend of mine. And you know what it meant to me when after Grand Prix happened, she was the first person that reached out to me and said, how can I help you? And I was like, help me? Don't worry about me. You've got like 5 businesses going. She was like, no, what can we do? Look, there's people at home right now. And we started doing lives and we did 2 lives and they did so well. And I really loved her audience because they are that mum at home that, you know, wants knowledge and they're like, and she was putting on red lipstick. I don't know, you probably didn't see it, but she was putting on red lipstick and I'm going, oh my God, stop, do it like this. And it was just genuine. And I think that's what people like. Not, hi, this is a such and such lipstick. You know, it's great to do that. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I have done that. But people want to see real. They want to see real. Yeah. And this is the time. And even elevating your mood, like in World War II, in the Depression, everything, lipstick sales soar.
Yeah, the lipstick effect.
It's exactly. So when it first started, Napoleon had sent it and I did this bright lip and then everyone started tagging and doing a bright lip. We called it the ISO lip. And things like that, that's what excites me. I'm a bit of a loser. Like I just am like, you know, I've always done this, not just because I love it and I've made a career at it, but I love how it makes people feel. And it's just got me, my head ticking right now as to what I do next is, it's about how people feel like, and I'm working on some things and people's different insecurities and
I think that comes from the fact that I remember reading like you really like the theoretical side of things. So you obviously like history or you like stories and the background of stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what sticks with me.
I find this space fascinating because my cousin, she's about like 22. She works at Mecca. She's just become a makeup artist, but previously she was in health and lifestyle or fitness as well. She had it was called Fun, Fresh and Healthy. And she had like 60,000 followers at like 15.
Whoa.
Yeah. Way back in the day, like we're talking 2014 or whatever. She gave it up. She was like, I've had enough. And she switched to makeup. And so every now and then I'll just chat to her about trends because I'm intrigued about like Jeffree Star fascinates me. Like the fact that guy was a musician and then made a business essentially through the content that he makes. Like obviously he made a business that manufactures makeup, but the thing that really drove it was the content and the partnerships and all that.
I just think beauty has been ahead of a lot of other industries.
Like retail-wise, it's the indicator.
And it's also, beauty's ahead of other industries because it accepts you. It accepts you no matter what. Beauty, it's like whether you are a male that wants to play with makeup and you just, since Boy George, like everyone has been, you know, it's our industry, although people say it's the harshest and it's like, oh, it's so bitchy and that, we also are the most accepting. You know, like we take everyone, the beauty industry takes, and it's expressive. And I think coming from health, because it's funny, obviously I came from a health background, there is something there with science and beauty. It's been proven that a lot of people in science switch over to beauty. And I don't know if it's like just like how it makes people feel because you want to make a difference, but then you think makeup, looking at it, it's just all about your looks and it's so superficial. But when you get so much further deeper down. Sorry, there's a door opening. There's a little person.
Bring her in.
The YouTube got off.
Hello.
Say hello.
Which daughter's this?
This is Valentina.
Valentina. Oh, the cheeky one.
The hair isn't brushed, but you know, there you go. Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye-bye. What's the jumper that she's wearing?
It's this brand I love. It's called Bobo Choosers, but I don't know what does it actually say? What does your jumper say? Turn around. How bad is this? Oh, yeah. We Cosmos, come here. We're all about the baggy, cool We Cosmos. And then Milana's here too. Do you want to say hello, Milana? Oh, she's not shy. Can you say hi? Okay. Mummy's still going, so you just have to shut the door and I'll be out soon, okay? Yeah. All right.
What did she say?
She said Milana's shy.
Yeah, she's shy. So Valentina is the older?
Little one.
The little one. Okay.
And Milana's the older, yep.
And
Milana was born in Leeds, Yorkshire, Harrogate.
Wow. Harrogate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Harrogate, yes.
Harrogate. Well, one of the questions I really wanted to ask was for this cousin of mine. So she's in this stage now, and I found interesting how you were told basically 5% of people, they do this course and then only 5% will work full-time or predominantly in the industry. So she's gone straight up into makeup artistry. I don't know where she is with her course. I'm pretty sure she's done, but she works at Mecca now. So she's
do you know where she studied?
Whatever the course, whatever the institute is, some fancy institute in Melbourne. I can't remember. Yeah. I honestly can't remember. So she's done that. She's got her book. She's got her Instagram. She's, of course, when she first started out, she's hitting up people like my fiance, cousins, sisters, friends, basically. Yep. And she's building up her book, and she's sort of, COVID doesn't help, but she's in this stage now where she's sort of in that, I think you've mentioned it before, in that 3 to 5 year period where you're sort of finding your hand, like your hand matching your eye.
Yes.
Like that's being the crucial
thing. You're finding the skill set matching your taste. It's like you can see what you want it to look like, but it's and that's where people normally give up. Yes,
and she's sort of she's definitely not, again, that immigrant background. She's not the type to give up. So I can see her being in this for a very long time. But a thing that she's struggling with at the moment is what are the ways to build your book? And when she says that, I think what she's really thinking about is what are the channels to do that other than Instagram?
Yeah. And I think that's what isolation has. I was thinking of this last night before I went to sleep. It's almost erased a bit of Instagram, and it's like go back to the basics, which for me, who has a business on Instagram, is like, oh, great. But in a way, it's probably quite important that we all remember the other stream. So for me, first and foremost, you need to perfect your skill. And if I look at the difference in my work 7 years ago to now, I've changed. I've grown, a lot. I think, and you just continue to get, I think, a better eye and a better skill. But I think first and foremost, practice. So she's doing the right things. She's, doing the people around her. And, anyone can make a model look amazing. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
you can. I mean, models will say to me, no, that's not right. Because I'll be like, has anyone ever done your makeup bad? And they're like, believe me, they have. And I was like, no. But anyone can make them look, quite beautiful. But it's what you do on that person that walks in for a trial or something and you go, whoa, you look like it's a transformation. And I've had people in the house when I don't do a lot of weddings anymore, but I used to do a lot. And I did, I think 1 year, 45 weddings. There's no easy way about it. You got to you got to put in the effort. Like people don't see on Instagram, you waking up at 4 a.m., getting the lunches ready before I get up, getting the school set out, everything done. I'm still doing that. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm waking up. Or, I did, who was it? I did a celebrity and I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. and I was like, I have to, because you know what? she uses me. She picks me to do that. So that's what I have to get up at this time. I'm honoured to be still working. But, you know, it never stops. So I'd probably say, practice with just everyone around you. I would probably say hitting up agencies like makeup, modelling agencies. So saying to them, like, that's what I was taught when I was straight out of the school, like hit up all, you know, and you just need to make a connection with one model. And she might say at a shoot, oh, I know this makeup artist. Like people don't, they're always like, oh, but you know, you've got a great network. How did I get the network that I've got? Everyone's got a network. And I'm like, no matter, you know, especially if your mum works with someone and says, oh, hi, my niece does this. Everyone has a network. It's about using the network you've got. So one thing I never did from when I finished, I said, I'm never, ever going to ask my husband for one favour. I don't know why. I just was like, I'm not going to get him to say, because he knew in England a lot of people like that were on Real Housewives and things like that.
Yeah, footballers' wives.
Yeah, footballers, yeah. And he knew like, and I knew a lot of people he knew. And he was like, oh, I could put in a good word. I was like, no. And maybe that is my ego, but I was like, I'm doing this from like the absolute, no, I didn't get any shortcut. Like it was like just, you got to do it through your personality too. Makeup is this amount of it, and then the other half is who you are. And you may make mistakes. People are telling you vulnerable things in vulnerable times, and you've got to really nurture that. It's quite
the art of the conversation.
Yeah,
because that was something I was thinking about. Is, you know, you've basically, like, you know, they give you the lists when you do these interviews. I see the lists of people that you've I guess worked with, all the celebrities, the models, etc. But I feel that anyone who's a personal service type worker, you would have fascinating. There's always that one conversation, a deep and meaningful conversation that would be interesting. And
after
so
about a million.
Yeah, well, I'm intrigued. What was the one that stood out to you? Is there one that really changed your perspective on something, or
there's so many? Like one thing. Okay, so the rule I have is anyone I do, I need to learn something from you. Whether you're a celebrity, whether you're a mother of the bride, whether you are a 15-year-old, whatever it is, my thing in my head is I've got to take something away, because I ask a lot of questions. So even today when, you know, you're doing the podcast, I was like, oh, where's your family from? Like I find people that don't ask questions really arrogant. It really annoys me. So soon as someone sits in front of me, I'm like, what can I learn about you? And I think there was a few. So first off, business things. I've learned a lot from Rachel and Beck Judd. Business, they're two women that I really admire, and Michelle, who's in Jagged with Beck. Very smart businesswomen. So I've been with them, and they're just like, Jade, if you like Beck, one time I was we were putting on Fenty or something, and I was like, I wonder where that's made from. Within seriously 30 seconds, she was like, oh, it's manufactured by the Louis Vuitton group, the LV group, and I was like, literally, she's so clever. And Michelle, who's her business partner with Jagged, we went to New Zealand and we just had conversations, and she's amazing. Rachel and her husband, Rachel Finch and her husband, I just love. They've given me so many opportunities I've had. Like I remember I got the Maya Runway series, and I went around the whole of Australia and directed the show, and I was called, and I was like, because the first time I worked with Maya was her, because she was an ambassador like 7 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, I got this. She's like, this is great for you. Okay. And you know when someone cares? She gave me all this advice, and then her husband's like, okay, Jade, you need to have teach, you need to have this. And so those people have been business-wise in the industry, helped me a lot with conversations. But one, and you're going to laugh when I say this, but one thing that changed my perspective on all those things, Charlie Sheen came out. Yes. So I called Joey. I was like, Joey, you do the hair, you his barber, you do the hair. I'm doing his makeup. And he was like, oh, Jade, Charlie Sheen, I'm so excited. I go, so it's going to be a bit random. It's for this ad, this commercial, and there's like all types of girls there. It's kind of, you know, his show that he did, you know.
2.5 Men.
2.5 Men.
Yeah, but I remember the ad.
You remember the ad, right? Okay. So we get there. And the digital company that did it, I know Christian through my my sister, and he was like, okay, Jade, it's going to be a bit crazy. I know you can adapt. And this is how easily I could adapt. I'd get there. So Charlie Sheen's there. He has his own green room, but the green room was like not, it was just over the side. It wasn't the best green room. And there's all these girls. Now, the girls were another level. Okay, so their professions were of all sorts. Okay, so a bit promiscuous. There were, I'm going to say, there were, strippers, everything you can imagine, right? So I went in there, and I don't care. I don't care what you do, and I'm not judging. But this one girl, she sat down and she started to go into really details, and I started to ask. I was like, so what goes on? Like, what men come in here? Like, I don't judge, but I want to know.
You're fascinated.
I'm fascinated. So she started telling me these stories, and do you know how upset I started to get? I was like, she started telling me about a guy that kept coming into her place of work, and he was just like always hanging around talking, and they were like, you're not making, because this is their job. Yeah, they're making money. And this lady had 3 houses. She was actually getting married. She was a smart lady. Okay, so, she goes, Jade, at the end of the day, I get paid. I get this. And I'm like, good on you. Like, I was actually that motivated. I'm like, yeah, good on you. You know who you are. You're doing this. And I was like, does your partner have an issue with this? No. And then she said to me that this man used to come in, and they used to say he was really sleazy, and why was he always coming there, and he didn't pay. He just would talk to them all. And they were like, she goes, this was to teach me, obviously, just never to judge. And finally, he was old. Finally, one day, they're like, mate, you keep coming in here, you're talking to us, you're sleazy, and you're not spending any money. And he turned around and he was like, you know what? My wife's dying with cancer, and I'm coming in here because I have no one.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I just was like...
The perspective changed.
My perspective changed, and I was like, how many, all of us have a joke and be like, oh, sleazy or strippers or this. They were there. They were doing their job. I was doing their makeup. She had, I think, something like 300-something thousand followers. And, I'm like, well, just because she does what she does, she's a successful woman, and I didn't judge. And that just shows when you're in my chair, feel comfortable.
And I think that's part of what you do when you're like, we've had a really well-known prominent escort on the show. Yeah. Her name's Lola. And she's prominent because she's very involved in like the legal aspect of the industry. Because there are some legal things that have happened in the US in the last few years, and they ended up, her and 2 other business partners created like a digital platform, like a CRM for escorts. It's really, really fascinating. I was like, fuck, this is like a $10 billion business that these guys are onto. And I was like,
even my first job that just gave me then in Leeds, I'll never forget. I got a call, and I got to my husband, oh my God, I got one of my first jobs. And she called me, she's like, I'm staying at this hotel. I get to the hotel, and she called me, and she goes, just before you come in, I want you to know I'm an escort. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went up there and I did her face, and it was for her own personal shoot for her website. So how lucky am I that I do everything.
But it's fascinating what you mentioned about that guy, because it's the same thing that she mentioned, is the majority of people are not there really for sex. They're just there for intimacy. That's like a cuddle, like literally just a hug.
And look, how did he feel to have to go, he's losing his best friend.
Oh,
he
no.
can't talk to her. So he's gone there talking to them, and they're like, you're asleep. And she goes, I learnt that moment, you know what?
Never to judge.
No. And that's really... bit of a D&M with you.
Yeah. All right. I know the girls are getting impatient, so let's finish off with some rapid fire questions.
Cool.
During this lockdown, what's been, if you could recommend one doco or movie or show, what would it be and why?
Oh God, I've gone
Frozen
down
2?
No. I've got to get the exact name. I think it's In Their Blood. It was on ABC about the Aboriginal community, and I watched it, and I got my daughters actually to watch this as much as their attention span would let them, which was about 20 minutes. It just shows how right now with everything going on, and I think also my husband and having mixed race babies, that it was really important for me and constantly to educate them about, normal and feeling okay about different skin colours and how even different cultures are educated. It shows you how this little boy, and I've forgotten his name. I'm not really good with detail. I'm very being creative. I'm not good with detail. But he basically explains, the whole documentary is in his words, and him speaking about how the white population are trying to educate Aboriginals their way, and they just can't do it, and he kept running away from his grandmother and just, that wandering soul. And it was actually really good for them to watch and say, oh, why does he keep running away? Why does he keep, and just how if he runs away, the grandmother doesn't get paid and she doesn't get food for them to, so if he doesn't go to school, she doesn't get money for them to eat. And I just wanted him to understand that. And for me as well, it was really good doco. The other one that I watched, which probably everyone's watched, is just the Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. I couldn't, I mean, I know I've read everything about that and what has happened, but the doc, I don't know. I just got depressed.
You know what? And especially you watch it at night and it's all dark and you're like, and my husband, he was like, I can't keep watching this, especially when you have children. It's quite hard.
Yeah.
But that's what we all do. We go, oh, this is too hard. Let's not watch it. And I was like, no, this is such a huge industry that is still going on right now. So for me, and I was so happy when they caught his little accomplice.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, Ghislaine. But those were the two ones that I've watched.
They're good. I look, if anyone's interested in that Jeffrey Epstein stuff, I'd recommend that doco. It does start off very good. It's absolutely fascinating.
And you've got to also say, because you can go down the other conspiracy theories and things, and they can be very flawed. Okay, there's a lot of flaws in those things, but it's quite intriguing.
If you look at the fridge, what's been your go-to snack over the last few months?
Oh God! Well, I'm paying for it now. Chocolate was.
But which chocolate?
I'm a Cadbury's girl, but that was first ISO. Second ISO is blueberries.
Come on, you got to give yourself some room. I mean,
I really can't.
Lauren's family is German, so we there's not a cafe. There's a grocer up the road that has Ritter Sport. So I buy Ritter Sport all the time. The little every Friday.
Our little secret ones that we love are Jaffa cakes. They're English. They're really and they're the orange with the chocolate on top and the soft biscuit. I love Jaffa cakes.
They're very good. All right, last question for you. If you could name a purchase and it's under $200 that you made before or during this ISO period that has helped you a lot, what would it be?
Oh.
And you can't.
They're all over two. How bad is that? I have a spending problem. They're all over $200.
I'm going to put a veto on AirPods because everyone says AirPods.
I don't want to do the AirPods because I'm all scared that much.
It'll affect your brain.
Yeah.
You're like PJ.
Oh my God! Really? Did she say that? I agree. We are, our souls sometimes are really connected. We say really weird things like that, but I do believe that. I don't want them up in my ears, and it's no connection.
Yeah, it's a personal preference.
Yeah. Oh God, mine's all probably beauty related.
I would have thought like an app or a game or something surely like a Disney Plus subscription.
Oh, I did get Disney Plus. I did. But the problem with Disney Plus is it runs out pretty fast. So you watch all the Disney and then they're like, what's next?
But kids rewatch things a lot. Like surely they can, rewatch a movie.
You know what's been a savior for my children? I'm making them relive my childhood. Uh-huh. So I made them watch Full House. They're obsessed with. Yeah, Full House.
Yes.
Fuller House. So they brought out a new one. And all the things like Free Willy. I'm making them watch all these shows that I used to. But I'd probably say, what's a device that? Disney Plus was $88 or something.
You know what's so funny is Full House. One of my favorites, because being in the media space, I'm fascinated by something called media synthesis, and this is literally things like AI generated audio, deep fakes.
God.
So there's a Instagram called The Fakening, and they dubbed over the guy from The Office, the American Office. No, it might have been Parks and Recreation, and they put it on the twins from Full House, the sisters. God, what are their names again? The Olsen twin.
Yeah, the Olsen twins.
And it was horrifying.
Was
It's
it
seriously
bad?
horrifying.
God, you gotta send it to me.
I will send it to you for sure.
I ended up Googling them where they are now. All of them. Obviously, we know where Mary
You're all
Kate
really
is.
successful.
Yeah, and the Cameron. Did you know that Growing Pains? Did you ever watch Growing Pains? Probably not.
Growing Pains. Remind me what that was again.
It was like, I'm not going to sing the song, but Growing Pains was another one from my era. I'm 35.
You're not that much older than me. You're only
and it's
5
the
years
brothers.
older.
Well, DJ. Do you know DJ from Fuller? She's the main girl. Trust me, every kid right now, any mum listening to this, Full House and Fuller House.
I know Growing Pains. Yeah, I just didn't. It
You're
wasn't
Googling it,
that. That was sort of at its end when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's
Full
her
House was
brother.
massive.
But don't you think something's missing from our kids' generation? There's nothing to exemplify how you should be living as a family.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's nothing.
But there's YouTube, so there is sort of real life there in that regard.
Yeah, and we did see someone in Dubai. My children saw a YouTube, and they were like, "Oh my god!" They went crazy.
Do they watch Peppa Pig or any stuff like that?
They're over that now because they're older, but they love these like unpackaging, like, oh, I got, and these little kids unpack. Yeah.
There's a kid who makes like a kid, really probably the parents who makes like a couple meal a year, just unpackaging like toys. It's crazy.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, I could talk about this for hours. I don't want to hold you up too long, but where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so when I first started Instagram, I made the mistake of putting double underscore. So it's Jade _ K makeup.
Okay, Jade _ K makeup.
K makeup.
All the links are there. If you want to book Jade, do it. And I'm looking forward to seeing another live with Rachel Finch in future.
Yeah, we'll have to do. It's pretty funny. We have a lot of fun. So, yeah, but if you just want some beauty advice or just how to do some, obviously, waves or something, I've got a few IGTVs up now, so I'm doing a bit more of that.
Awesome. All right, Jade, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching Uncommon and this week's episode. If you like it, smash that like button. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, please do subscribe. We would love that. We'd love to build this audience that we're growing here of uncommoners. If you want to keep up to date with audio, you can search for us on all of your good podcast apps. It's Uncommon or Uncommon Show will typically find us. For social, you want to see behind the scenes, this amazing studio that I'm sitting in, just search at Uncommon_show. And everything will be there, including our weekly promos. But look, thanks so much for stopping by. Until next time, thanks for watching.